All right. So, welcome back, my fellow brethren, to the Classic Book Club. This last time we joined together, we continued our Jonathan Hickman read through. We read the third major arc of his run, and now we are on to the fourth and the first big climax of his run, 3. So So we start off right in the thick of it already. We're over at the neutral zone, which is the area that's listed as between the United States and the territory that's claimed by the forever city of the High Evolutionary, which is all the smart moloids. There's a fight going on, but then we cut back to the Baxter building, and Valeria's climbing through the vents and looking around for stuff her pops is doing. So, and then eventually she comes across the all important. She comes across the all important work log, which details how Reed rebuilt the bridge. Oh, Reed, you're in trouble.
Mhm.
No, Valeria's in the vent. I don't know what I might have said, but she's climbing through the vents. Like
Yeah.
she's get. Oh, Hayden. All right. Also, I must say on this page, whenever she finds the work log, the hologram, it's beautiful. And this is Steve Epting's first issue
Mhm.
on the series, and just you can see immediate improvements from what you saw before.
Uh, yeah, it kind of remind me, like the coloring kind of remind me of Green Lantern. How Brad Anderson usually uses colors.
Yeah, in some of these shots, it almost looks like it's like a real photograph of someone just brought with like some airbrushes and some effects on top.
Yeah.
But I think Epting just drew that, and it just looks so damn good. But yeah, so we're getting a bunch of exposition here, but this is how Valeria learns of oh god, she learns of the Council of Reeds.
Mm.
Then we cut over to Latveria, and apparently
Mhm.
something's going on. There's a torture scene going on, and it looks like someone who looks like oh, it's just someone who looks like Reed. I wonder
Mm.
who they could be. And then we cut to Doom, and he says there is no other move to be made. Summon Christoph Vernard from exile, and
Yeah. And
and
who's the
so
inker?
and
Who's the
so at
inker?
this and
Yeah.
just for context, at this time, hello, people. I hear a bunch of people coming in. Let me find you. Let me find you, people in my phone. Hello, hello. Um, okay. We shall continue. So Doom is for some context at this point in the Marvel history. The the intelligentsia got into a beef with Doctor Doom, and then they took away his intelligence. So he's been running around for the past couple of years or so in in this time frame, being a dummy or a lesser than. So then So in this, Doom is going to abdicate his throne to his adopted son slash heir or whatever he is for stuff. But then all of a sudden, someone's translocating into the room, and guess what? It's his lovely niece. It's his lovely niece, not by blood, Valeria. So eventually, she sort of lays it all out for Doom, and lays it all out in front of Doom, and it turns out we get into what she was getting up to. she opens the portal and she finds the remains of the Council of Reeds. But first off, she finds the Doom, the lobotomized Doom variants. Oh, no. So there's like a very small handful of Reeds that have managed to survive the onslaught of the Mad Celestials.
Yeah, just for a second, could we, like, Hayden, have you ever read Fantastic Four before?
So I have the first complete collection of Hickman's run, which covers where I put first complete collection covers issues 1 through 5 of the Dark Reign tie-in, and then 570 through 578 of the
Yeah.
mainline Fantastic Four stuff. So I've read some of it, but obviously I'm not as far as you two are.
Yeah, so essentially the ruins that Emily's talking about are the ruin, like, do you get to the point where you can see multiversal versions of Reed?
Yeah, so it covers, like, it ends on the, like, war of the four, like, species.
The War of the Four
Yeah.
Cities. So yeah,
Yeah.
that's the last issue of the War of the Four Cities is 578. So Hayden knows that this is Hayden. If Hayden's read the whole first collection, then he should know that this is that this is the Council of Reeds, and we're
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
it's a ruin. So this is just the aftermath. We finally we're catching up with the Reeds,
Mm.
and it's just a whole complete. Well, Valeria's in this little pocket universe or whatever, little pocket of space, and climbing around and investigating everything. It's just no dialogue. It just communicates everything through just images, and you can tell that shit's been really bad. And the Mad Celestials are still around and are a problem. Everyone makes a run for it. A couple more Reed variants get killed, but but they make it back in one piece. And then I think this is kind of like a weird little way of like visualizing it for it's like I don't know, because now I'm thinking about it with how they have some of the exclamation points and the question marks. It's like, does Valeria know what they're talking about? Maybe not. She's really smart, but these are extra dimensional beings.
Yeah, I think maybe she doesn't want to disclose what they were talking about to Victor. That's
Could be
why, like,
quite possible.
yeah, she's like narrating what happens, but it's like she didn't quite hear what they were saying to him at least.
Yeah, because the next piece of dialogue is, and what did you learn when you stepped through the machine? So she could probably not have told anyone. And she said that my father made the wrong choice. When having to decide between personal happiness and the good of the world, how could he rationalize such a selfish decision? Oh, Valeria. Oh, she's old enough to have empathy. And and then she says the 5 magical words that get Doom back in the saddle. All hope lies in Doom. And she says that her father's going to need her help at some point. And we're cutting back to them needing help. So they're under attack. Everything's going bad. Ben's faceplate cracks, so he starts mutating again and getting a little big brain. Then things. So they're yeah. So then the evolutionary machine starts to go reach a critical mass, and then eventually they use their powers to stop it. And then we have to have, and so they now have to have negotiations with the advanced moloids, who who are being very bad neighbors, evidently. They think that just because they got all special, that everyone would want that one to be special. So as we move on, then we cut back. We then eventually cut back to what Valeria was talking to with Doom beforehand, and she's still talking. She's making her case as to how to fix, how to get the Dooms, how to present to Doom that Reed needs his help. And in return, they'll figure out how to restore him to supreme intelligence. And and then Valeria, and with the widest shit-eating grin, nothing I couldn't handle. Welcome home, Dad. Liar. But before we end, we cut to elsewhere. It was a subconscious, almost involuntary need that brought Norinrad, the Silver Surfer, to this place. Something familiar tickling the edge of his mind, pulling him off center and away like a second center of the universe. Pulling him here, deep beneath the ground, to something buried in the earth. Something so unthinkable that when he finally can speak, only a single word escapes his lips. Unacceptable. And with that word, the world trembled, and rightly so. So, for Hayden's sake, in case you don't know what this is, it's got there. He's referencing the Galactus, the dead
Yeah.
Galactus body that was tied into New World. So
Mm.
they
Yeah.
managed to figure out where it is, and there's going to be a very unhappy Galactus coming very, very soon.
Mm.
Yeah. In case Hayden didn't read the previous run, in the Mark Millar Brian H run, they encounter a version of the Defenders from the future who tell them that in the future the humanity is able to capture Galactus and use him as a source of energy. So that's like some sort of Galactus from the future that is dead now.
Mm.
And so, yeah, we'll get to why this is a problem eventually, but suffice to say, I mean, if a dead Galactus is a pretty big problem. uh,
I mean, just imagine
so
how much like carbon emissions his body is like putting off inside of the Earth.
Jesus Christ. All right, so up next in part 2 of 3, we have an issue very focused on Ben Grimm, very aptly titled, "Congratulations, Mr. Grimm, you're handsome again." So he starts to mutate back. The mutations that happened in the last issue begin to subside. So then we eventually see him in his normal handsome self. And we cut to the then we cut to the blah, 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 the living room, and things are packing up. And everybody is packing up because a lot of things are happening. Sue's gonna end up leaving. Because she's going to talk to the Atlanteans to broker peace with Namor, and Reed's busy helping. But then Ben eventually gets that hold of that serum, and now this is a serum. When in the previous arc, the Future Foundation started, and the first problem that they tackled was making Ben Grimm human. Now they give him a serum, and it can only he can only transform for a week at a time. So he takes it because he wants to see if it'll work. And so he goes through like a metamorphosis. He sheds his rocky exterior, and Johnny, the master of words, always says, "Oh no! Well, it didn't. Oh God, no, Ben! It's even worse." Oh, they said, "Oh, you." And classic Johnny, Raz, and Ben. Then, so after this marvelous revelation, the two decide to get dressed and go out on the town. And it's very easy to not. It's very easy to go unnoticed when you're not a giant rock monster. They take a they go to a football game, they just walk the streets, they go to a nice fancy restaurant, Stan Lee cameo in there, they play cards with the Avengers, and
Is that also
then
Jack Kirby, right? Yeah, I think that was Stanley and Jack Kirby, right?
yeah, I think so. It's quite possible, but I know that one the one over there is Stan Lee for sure.
Yeah.
Uh, then Then we cut to the end here, and it's the old Yancey Street gang. Oh, what a bunch of moogs! So, it one of the and you know what and you know what's one of the nice advantages about not being a rock monster? You can hit someone and you won't immediately kill them. Then we cut to Utopia and a very sullen Scott Summers and Emma Frost are just
Oh, so
standing there.
Utopia is like another island for mutants, right? So how many there have been?
Uh, one, two, three, four, maybe four at
Yeah.
least.
Like I really hope
Yeah.
nothing wrong happens to Utopia. I really hope so.
I don't know if anything happens in this time frame, or at least if it does, I don't remember. But she comes to Utopia because she's here to meet another mutant, Namor, the Submariner. Then we cut back to Yancey Street, and they beat those mooks up pretty good. Then Johnny has one last present for Ben. He tells her to go. He tells him to go meet up with his, I believe at the time, ex girlfriend Alicia Masters,
Yeah.
and
Eh,
she cries because she's never known Ben to be nothing but have a rocky texture. She's crying because, oh my God, we can have sex.
And why is Johnny waiting on the door? He's like, are you
He's
finished? Let's go.
he, no, he's the wingman. He's there in case shit goes bad. He breaks in, he causes a scene, they run away. Then we cut back to Reed doing a bunch of nerd shit, observing spatial anomalies in quadrant 4, blah 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 blah. And then we eventually cut behind you, and we just have this we have these very ominous words. You have more pressing matters than stargazing this evening. Matters involving Galactus. Dum dum dum. It's Norrin Rad. Hello, Norrin. It's been a while.
Uh,
How are you, old friend?
Can
Angry.
somebody can somebody like explain what is the status quo to Silver Surfer at this point? Because I thought he was in the Herald of Galactus no more.
Well, he gained his powers back during the Annihilation event.
Yeah, I remember that.
So
Yeah.
yeah, so I think at this point he has just been serving Galactus, and it's more so it is. I think him and Galactus they probably do at this point have the type of relationship where Galactus tries to not eat planets full of living people, or at least planets that don't deserve it.
Got it. Yeah.
But then I, f- I found what was hidden deep beneath the earth, Dr. Richards. The radiation that your family emits is unique. The area was covered with it, so I know you were there. More interesting than that was the tachyon decay. It indicated a temporal peculiarity. He was from the future, but died in the present. Difficult to explain. what I mean is, of course, I could explain it to you. It's just, well, it's going to take a while. You misunderstand me, Reed. It is my master who seeks answers to difficult questions, and he would have them now. And he just appears right over the right over the Baxter building. You know,
Man, I really love how Hickman plays with the page turners. Like every single time there's like a huge scene, he makes it feel like you are in a movie, right? Like in
yeah,
the previous page, he uses panels in order to slow down the pacing, and then he just gets the massive reveal. It's like such a like clever layout.
yeah.
Even though this is me just jumping in real quick, but I feel like this is just a general Hickman talent that he shows in a lot of his good work is that his like especially like standout pieces, panels, and just cliffhangers, events, anything of the sort. He can really sell that well.
Okay. I will say though that and at that last panel there, like where it's just Galactus over the building, he's like, "Reed, you've been a naughty boy." All right, and then up next, we have 585. This is going to be a Namor focused. This is going to be more Atlantis focused. We're at number 2. We're at 2 for the countdown to causality. So shit's about to hit the fan pretty fucking soon. And then every Ben Ben and Johnny are joyriding, go probably heading back to the Baxter building after a long day, after a nice day of partying, and they have to hit the brakes because they just see because you know what they just see Galactus appearing, and Galactus appearing is never usually a good thing. Oh, Christ. There we go. Yep. And we get the explanation for how New Earth came to be. Another new explanation for New Earth. And then they needed the energy source, so they grabbed the future incarnation of Galactus and killed him. And they're far away, and then everything seems to be going okay enough, as okay as you can be with a pissed off Galactus. And then they have to take and as punishment for this betrayal, Reed has to tag along with Galactus so that way they can explain the New World stuff fully. And so now Johnny and Ben are left in charge of the children. Things will not go wrong. I mean, how could they? So then we cut to about a full day later. It's 3:15 p.m. I don't know why we need to know that. It's just, but we are in the Central Pacific Basin, and we are approaching New Old Atlantis, and so we are having a discussion with Namor to try and make sure he doesn't fly off the handle, so to speak. And so he seems to be willing to go along with what's going on, and his assistant Andromeda is very much not. And then we cut to the space, and we see Reed and Galactus are just they're palling around on an intergalactic space trip. Then so we things are going not so things seem to be going okay. still, maybe. Who knows? Then we cut back to it's another day passes, and then we cut to the living room, the Future Foundation. Everyone else is talking about stuff, being cool, all that jazz. They're discussing energy sources, I believe, but things don't go very well. And then we have a very nice human moment between Ben and Johnny. They talk about wanting kids. And then we cut a little bit later to the words of the anti priest, which is the cult of which is a on Earth cult of Annihilus. Things seem to be ready in motion, so it's time to
Mhm.
shed their human skins, and the annihilation wave shall begin anew.
Where have I seen this kind of cult? I think I'm seeing this cult right now. I don't know where.
All right, then we are now in old Atlantis. Things seem Namor still being a bit seems to be a bit standoffish still. Andromeda's still very pissed off. One of the old Atlantean kings seems to be wants to make things go, but then Namor then goes full Namor and just fucks everything up. He just kills a bunch of the old Atlanteans, and it turns out he brought an invasion force to wipe out these old Atlanteans.
Yeah, I think like Hickman has such an affinity for Namor, especially then like later when you see him in New Avengers. Like he really likes the character, and I feel like the way he writes Namor, it just makes total sense. Like for me, like this is Namor.
Yeah,
Mm. I feel like Hickman, especially, he also gravitates towards like morally grey kind of characters. I feel like, you know, I feel like he has the freedom to do, the kind of, tiptoeing the line kind of thing that he likes to do. It allows him to, get the epic stuff, get the conspiracy stuff, do all sorts of kind of cool things.
up next we have 586, and shit's falling apart in New Atlantis. Everyone wants to kill each other now except Sue. Sue realizes she was played like a damn fiddle, and explosions and things are happening. But then Sue in her infinite awesomeness creates a shell around the city, so that way creates a shell around the city where nobody will get in and nobody will get out. And Namor, we are going to have a very long chat, Mister.
On one side, doesn't the alien at the top look like Doomsday?
Yeah, I could kind of see. I could kind of see it with the sort of bony structure. And then cut back to space. We then jump into like a little to we rejoin with the giant machination ship of Galactus with all the twisty pipes and shit, and we make a jump across the galaxy. And hey, look at that, it's those characters from New World everybody likes. Not, well, I don't know,
Like
maybe some other people here like them, but
like I wonder if this was like Hickman's idea or he was kind of forced like to continue what Mark Millar was doing on his run.
I think it was probably his idea to continue with it, to use it and wrap it up. I just don't think it wraps up in a very satisfying way.
Nah,
That's
I,
really
I think
cool to
it,
see.
I think it's like, how do I even say it? Like, I think it does what it should do. I don't think it does more or anything. It's like, this is like Hickman saying, I'm gonna make sure that everything is tied up at the end.
Yep. And yep, and so we don't know at this point. We don't know what Galactus is going to do to New World once he gets there. But considering the fact that the issue is titled "World Eater," I think we can guess. But they drop out of space time. They find the collapsing wormhole that New World is built around. Then we cut back to the cult on the cult of the other side of Zero, and then it's code red. They're invading. They're going for the portal to unleash the annihilation wave.
Has it ever been explored, the idea of like annihilation creatures like hiding as humans or any other aliens? Because this feels so out of nowhere. The fact that they can hide.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it feels like just a very specific plot for just this run. That like, oh, oh, Annihilus is a classic Fantastic Four villain. I'm making a run that's touching on all things Fantastic Four.
Yeah.
Why not? And the the advanced moloids that got adopted into the Future Foundation are just scared shitless and don't know what to do with these big, giant, scary bug creatures that speak in weird tongues and just go. But then, then Alex comes in with his pixel powers,
Uh,
and he
I don't really know if it works for me. The pixel like graphics.
yeah
It's kind of weird.
I've never met this character specifically, so I don't know what his powers specifically are supposed to be, but they don't look great. I think matched with Epting's art.
Yeah, it
Like
looks like the color is just put a lot of like Photoshop skills onto this.
yeah. Gravity powers. That's what he calls them. Gravity powers. Yep. And then Johnny Johnny's like, wait, what's going on here? Did you say bugs? And he's like, ah, shit. He knows what's coming. Then, so then we're still just cutting back and forth. Everything's reached a climax. We're three places at once. We gotta go. We gotta move this stuff. And Galactus monologues to himself, and then but then eventually Reed eventually comes up with a plan, something that makes Galactus happy about this whole New Earth fiasco, and it's advice that he got from the Council of Reeds. So, you know, he he's either gonna feed everyone on the planet or save a son. And in that way they don't have to kill the future they don't have to kill Galactus in the future. But as punishment for having to do it the first time, he's going to destroy this new Earth.
Yeah,
And
I
then
really, I really love what Galactus is saying. Like, who tests God and does not wager their life, right? It's like so powerful. Like Galactus is just, he just feels like a force of nature here. Doesn't feel like
yeah,
he has like any kind of empathy.
yeah, so yeah, like right now he like because he doesn't even really make a barter for it. He lets them do he lets them go down and save as many lives as they can, but he doesn't care if they live or die. He just knows that this is a world that was built off of him dying. So his ego's probably pretty bruised right now. then then as we cut back to old Atlantis in the Gulf of Thailand, Sue's just sitting there meditating, keeping the force field up so that way war doesn't obliterate everyone. And so Sue ends up having to having Namor brought to her to talk some sense into him, but it turns out that apparently these old Atlanteans are not as noble as they seem. Namor relays a tale that they were actually from a time when Atlantis was a scourge on the sea, and they would just kill, eat, and devour. Like these were just like basically almost like a colonizer type species. And so Namor obviously never knew that any of them were still alive, and so he goes in with these preconceived notions that they are like either still that or using Sue as a puppet. And so we have more of a giant argument, and then he drops the bombshell that he thinks that they're going to kill Sue. And speaking of kill, we cut back to the portal in the negative zone, and the kids are working on trying to open up the portal, and then to try and like destroy it or whatever and kill all the bugs. So then eventually, though, the portal, I believe, the portal door gets blown up, and then the annihilation wave can come through.
Yeah. I really can't imagine like people reading this back in 2000 and I think this was like 2008, 2009. And it's like, okay, so they're gonna do another annihilation.
Yeah, by this time, I think this issue specifically came out in either 2010 or 2011, because it was Jonathan Hickman took over in like
Yeah,
or
2008. Yeah.
yeah, he took over in 2009. He took over in like mid to late 2009, and then so it's been a good little while that Hickman's been on this run.
Yeah. Yeah, that's kind of surprising because usually it's like, okay, 20 issues and or 30 to 40 issues, and like sometimes I forget that 40 issues of a run is like 3 years and a half almost, or even more.
Yep. All right. Yep. And now we're on to the main event. It's issue 587. We have this just epic cover. We have all the Fantastic Four members like in their own little like side little corner of the screen of the cover, I should say. The Fantastic Four symbol is just broken. We've reached the terminal point. This is causality. So we start off by getting a quick recap and cutting between our three main points of action: the Gulf of Thailand, in Old Atlantis, New World, and the Baxter Building. We stay with the Baxter Building, and then we're working on and the annihilation bugs, the negative zone cult is working its way to try and get to the portal and open it up, but then Franklin uses his powers and just I think brushes them away and turns them all into crisp bugs. So then they get the shield up on the portal to the negative zone, so that way the bugs can't come in. But now they got to work on figuring out a solution to reseal it to seal it up. Then So everyone locks and loads to go into the Annihilation Zone. Then we cut back to old Atlantis, and then Sue Sue is then named a new liege of the Atlanteans, of the old Atlanteans. And that's just kind of, I think, where that whole thing ends. And well, not really, but like that's where like the whole tension ends, and it's kind of unsatisfying in my opinion. I mean, they say they change, but I think this is like a case of Hickman running out of page real estate because it feels like he's having to really rush this resolution in. Then we cut to New World, and we're evacuating. We're getting the final pieces, the final bits of people on here, and then we also got to remember to save Mother X, who is in this story. Every time they would be coming back to New World, time would just keep advancing ever so often because of how close it was to a collapsing black hole. And so there's this lady who just has this really big brain that kind of rules over the consciousness of New Earth. It's fucking weird, bizarre, dumb. And oh yeah, and then one of Galactus's heralds, Lightwave, is here talking to try and save these people, and then he's like, "My master does not wish. Galactus is not trying to consume the world. He just wishes to destroy it." So this ain't even about hunger. This, like you said, this ain't about hunger for Galactus. It's personal. All right. Then we cut back to the negative zone. We cut back to the negative zone. They're at the gate. They're just started blasting everything. They're just make fire, fire, fire. Everything's going on, and then they're working on. They're still working on a plan to halt this annihilation wave, and then just and close the gate and stop everything. And this is a really good showcase of the kids using their smarts and putting the focus on them as like these are the next group of problem solvers. Really cool scene. But it's a really cool scene, but unfortunately, as we goes on, the ultimate solution they have to their problem is that in order for it to succeed, someone's gonna have to stay behind. Sacrifice. All right, and then as we cut back to New Atlantis, where we've got Sue drops the force field, and then eventually she put Namor in his place, and he goes, "Woman, you do not turn away from." And she just like turns her whole arm into like a mace, and just goes. Honor the deal, Namor. and she only respond. Honor the deal, Namor. I'm done asking nicely. You dare. You're damn right I do. In case you missed it, these are my people now. I rule here, and I'm queen. And I am a queen that bows to no king. And all Namor has to say is, God, you're magnificent. And she eye rolls so fucking hard.
Yeah, Namor is just like me. I like her too.
Dude,
Oh God.
next one's gonna be like Step on Me, Sue.
No, no, this is a family friendly chat. What the hell? Okay. Anyway, so let me find my place again. Yep. And Sue's just like, I'm done. I'm going home. And they make the New World people are making their way out. Making their way out. They find it on they get on the sort of last ship or transport home. Galactus destroys everything. The Annihilation, we cut back to the negative zone, and their little distraction worked, and the Annihilation Wave is then the Annihilation Wave is on its way, and then Sue, we just have a thing of Sue and Johnny. Johnny and Ben are looking to stay behind, and while the kids go back, but then Johnny does the Johnny thing and pushes Ben back through the force field. And Johnny sets up the big final shield that'll allow them to keep the negative zone separated. He's like, "You stupid dumb! Open it back up! Open this back up! Open it!" And then we have to. So Johnny then enters the access code, and then it's just a one-time thing. He won't be able to open it from his side of the door. They'll find a way to get back to him. And then Ben just freaks out, and he's just like, "Wait, no!" He's because he's losing his friend, and then he's turning back into the thing. His time as a human is up. Oh no, no, no! It's one of my favorite panel sequences in the entire book. He just freaking out, and it's like his freak out causes him to change back into his true self.
Yeah, this has to be one of the best sacrifices in comics. Like,
Yeah,
he's so like the layouts, the faces, like no
yeah,
words. It's just
yeah.
so beautiful. Yeah.
And so they have their Spock and Kirk moment touching the barrier. Live long and prosper. And so Johnny is just there. Explosions are happening. Everything's coming down, and it's just, so this is it. 1,000,000,000. You think I'm afraid of that? You think I'm afraid of that? Flame on! And it's what a very beautifully drawn Steve Epting port panel flame on. And so then he looks down the Annihilation Wave. Ben gets a quick glimpse of Annihilus, and he just realizes what's going on. Oh God, John! And I think another case of page real estate being shorts. They don't give like a whole battle sequence to Johnny's last stand. He just kind of stands there. Annihilus comes up, and he just goes down. I wasn't built for this.
I think it was kind of intentional though. I feel like the fact that you don't know what happens to him, but you kind of
Oh
know.
yeah,
It's like, he's dead, but
yeah, yeah. I could see that. And then Ben Grimm collapses to the ground, and then collapses by the door as Valeria and Franklin fall into his chest, crying, all broken over over the sacrifice that Johnny Storm made. Maybe the most mature decision he ever made in his life. And so now it's 4 has become 3, and the last stand of Johnny Storm has closed. But we have one more issue to wrap things up before this series gets put on hiatus. It's advertised as, at the time, the final issue, because around this time they were going to relaunch this whole series as FF, and sort of positioning Future Foundation as the future of the Fantastic Four book. We know that's not really how it played out, but just go with it. It's 588. It's the last issue. We have young Nick Dragotta on this issue. Let's go. Let's go. Everything is just bad, and we have a month of mourning, according to. So we cut to the beginning, and it's the event. The Avengers finally show up. The Avengers finally show up, dickheads. And it's just the Future Foundation in shambles because Johnny is gone. And this is mostly a whole non-dialogue issue. At least the stuff Dragata draws. So you're just seeing young Dragata's raw emotion portraying how everyone feels. So Sue comes in, she collapses to the ground, realizes what's going on, and she doesn't want, and she is like in despair, like completely down in the dumps, doesn't want to talk to Reed, just wants to be left alone in her grief. And then Reed goes to goes to one of his little hidey holes. He opens it up, and what does he pull out? The ultimate nullifier. He goes to the portal, he opens it up, and he looks ready to fuck up Annihilus. And then he's like so pissed. But then all Annihilus has to show Reed is Johnny's torn Fantastic Four uniform. Obviously gloating that he got one over on Reed after all these years, and Reed just realizes that it's not worth it, shuts the portal. Then we cut to day 5, which is the memorial service for Johnny. Ben is still inconsolable. Namor's also there. He still looks probably is still very pissed at Sue, even if he loves her. You get to see a bunch. I'm pretty sure there's like a bunch of Fantastic Four ancillary characters. I mean, we have at least She-Hulk, who was a member of the Fantastic Four at one point, greeting a bunch of people. Like it's just so sad. Then get day 6, Christoph Vernard takes over Latveria, and Doom is probably still very pissed off. He then day 8, he comes to the burial service. He comes to the final burial service of Johnny Storm. He just hangs out in the back, doesn't really interact with people. Then day 14, Spidey comes over to try and cheer Franklin up. Day 20, we have the Future Foundation meets up for their new to-do list to find potential replacements: She-Hulk, Storm, Black Panther, Wyatt Wingfoot, Alex Power, Luke Cage, Iron Fist. But she realizes that's not what needs to be done. What needs to be done is kill Annihilus. And we cut to day 26. I think by this I think Ben's like on a bit of a bender or whatever. He's just been so fucking depressed, and he just gets so pissed off. He doesn't want anything to do with anyone. He just starts fighting. He tries to take on the Hulk and Thor, and then Ben just is like beating on the Hulk, and the Hulk just takes it until Ben just collapses in grief. Day 29, Reed Richards is looking at a threat list. And it's just everything's bad. Invasion from the negative zone, high. Invasion from Universal Humans, high. Celestial invasion via bridge, medium. Franklin power set, high. Galactus destruction of Earth, high. Reformation of the Council, necessary. But then as he starts to contemplate maybe the worst mistake he would ever make, da 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 da, it's Nathaniel Richards from the fucking who knows where.
I'm not a fan of Nathaniel. I really don't like him.
Yeah, this is not the King Nathaniel Richards. It's Reed's deadbeat dad, Nathaniel Richards.
Yeah, I know.
For context. Then we cut back to day 14. This is not Nick Dragotta art, but we cut back to see what Peter tried to do to cheer Franklin up. And so
I love you.
And this Jonathan Hickman guy writes Spider-Man pretty good throughout this scene. I think he'd do very well on a Spider-Man book. Maybe.
Oh god.
Yeah. Hello, Franklin. How long have you been up here? I don't know. A while. It's quiet. So the so that Peter just sits down to help try and help Franklin process his grief, and they then go on a nice little web swinging adventure, and poor Peter, he wants to go buy hot dogs, but he needs to borrow $1 from a child. Then they go to the Empire State Building, and he builds Franklin a little web cradle so that way he can just sit, eat, and dangle. I mean, yeah, you don't really need to worry much when when the child is a universally powerful being. So Peter manages to break through, and then he just like, yeah, it takes a while, kid. You're gonna be very fair. But then Franklin then has this harsh reality that he thinks that he could have stopped Uncle Johnny from dying. Like he could have, if he knew how to use his powers better, maybe he would have been able to stop the annihilation wave without having to sacrifice Johnny. And then Peter, just keeps relating that way because, yep. Well, yep. I know I could have stopped my uncle from dying. Really, really. Why didn't you? Because I was young, because I didn't understand how important every single decision we make is. Because I had to learn that when you have gifts like ours, you don't think about yourself first. You think about how lucky you are to have them and how much other people need help. That's what my uncle would have wanted from me, and that's what your Uncle Johnny would want from you. Understand? I only need to. We get, and then as Franklin goes on to goes back home, he asks Spider-Man one final question. What was your uncle's name? His name was Ben.
And you get the
So, and then we get the last page epilogue, which is a which is a preview, which is just an advertisement for FF1. So that concludes 3. It's a very action heavy arc. It's very climax. It's a very huge climax of this first chunk of the run. We get the thing that shakes up the Fantastic Four and pushes them into the kind of state you would need to be in to face these new challenges that will be coming up very soon. Uh, so based on those of us who have read it, how did we feel?
Hmm. I think this actually, like reading this again, just made me feel so glad that this actual run exists. Like, it is so powerful. Like, I can read this like so many times and still, you still get the, you still get the feeling when Johnny has to sacrifice himself. It's just such a well crafted like comic book.
Yeah, like I just like I remember reading this through for the first time. I mean, ultimately knowing where things were going to go. I'm just like, oh my god, this is what a Hickman story. This is what a peak Hickman story looks like. You see all these dominoes finally starting to fall into place, and it's just, so good. Now, for those of you who haven't read it yet, would this sound like something you'd want to check out?
I
This.
mean,
Go
oh,
ahead.
Hayden, if you do you want? Oh, okay. I would say this totally sells me on because I've always teetered on like I've always like appreciated the FF's importance in obviously Marvel history, but I've never really strive to actually, pick up an FF book. But with one thing that this really gets is the emotional weight that I'm looking for with stories. Like we have, like what seems like Johnny making a sacrifice, a mature decision when normally he's known as, the carefree, you know, wild child of the group, making the sacrifice. you know. Then we've got, you know, the wonderful element of, Spider-Man always being known as like the mainstay extra family member of the FF, being there for Franklin and relating about them talking about them both losing their uncles, you know, and even though I haven't read the full book, I've seen um that scene with Franklin and Peter, and that's always um shouted out to me as like very powerful, and especially the art. The art is firing on all cylinders.
Hayden, did you have anything to say?
I was gonna say, from the way y'all have talked about it, and the way the pals had previously talked about it on their Fantastic Four book club, it sounds like this arc is going to destroy me. Like this is the highest emotional moment, at least from like what I've heard discussed of Jonathan Hickman's Fantastic Four run. So I am very much looking forward to eventually getting to this arc, and I think Peter is the perfect choice uh, to replace Johnny. Uh, not only because of his relationship with the Fantastic Four in previous stories, but also again his relationship with Franklin in this. Like, I I don't think anyone else could have uh, could have related to Franklin in that sort of way, and I think that achieves like a really high emotional moment that this book needs for this type of moment. So yeah, I'm looking forward to reading this.
I'm agreeing with everything you said. Thank you for sharing. Yeah, like, oh God, it's hard for me to kind of place this on where I view it as in like the hierarchy of the Hickman stuff, because the climax that comes later is really fucking cool. But like, I think there was just something about reading that 588 for the first time that I think just really tied it all together. That really tied three all together for me. Like, I know Nick Dragata seems to be one of those like. Oh, I think he's always been a bit of an acquired taste kind of guy, but I know early on people didn't really. Some people probably didn't really seem to understand his work, but I think his art works beautifully for what they're trying to go for here. It's just it's raw, very moody. You can see everyone's anger and sadness. It's just it hits.
Hmm. I'm still 50-50 on his faces, to be honest. Not a huge fan.
Yeah, the faces are probably not are definitely not on model, but I mean it's definitely going for a more little bit more of a cartoonish type style. So I mean, I either like it or you don't, but I think it's just the way the art works within conjunction of the storytelling at least elevates this early Dragona art to another level. But like, yeah, like I definitely would recommend you reading this, like especially, but not like as your first thing. Like, don't just give someone three off the bat and just be like, here you go. What are you, a monster? So yeah, just go like give him the Hickman run, but let him know that 3 is a really fucking good arc. So
Yeah, I
I
feel like this is such a good run. I feel for new people because just be a I don't know like pop like how do I even say this like most people know about the Fantastic Four. They don't have to go back to Kirby or Stanley. So for them, this is like something completely new. It's like okay, so remember everything that you know about the Fantastic Four, and then you can just read this and enjoy it.
yeah. Yeah. Um, yeah, so thank you all here for oh, I read this one. I can't. Okay, thank you. Thank you for that perspective, Tyler. Yeah, I can only imagine what it would have been like just reading it in real time. Like there's some old interview with Hickman's that exist on the internet where you can kind of get bits and pieces about what he reveals about his plans for the Fantastic Four as they're happening, but it doesn't really replace like being in that moment and just talking amongst people and
I actually I actually picked up a couple issues like because this was around my time where I was like starting reading comic books. It was 2008. That was when I started like collecting monthly, and I remember in 2010, 2011, like there was a lot of like interest about this series, and I picked out a couple issues. I still have like I think is some of the issues with the with New World and all that, and it is one of those series where I just literally couldn't bother because I was like so behind in terms of like the knowledge necessary for this kind of like runs.
oh, that stinks. Yeah, it's never fun to be the one behind because I don't know what Marvel's trade releases were like at the time, but I mean I can't imagine they were any faster than they are now. So you by the time
Yeah,
like you're by the time this would have because this was like 3 like by the time you would have gotten into it around 2010 or 11 you would have been probably only like 1 or 2 trades deep.
yeah. And I also had to prioritize. I went for DC, especially because 2011 was New 52, so I had to commit to a lot of like titles. So I kind of just so this title for me was just so easy to just not even bother. Yeah.
All right, well, I do have to go here in a little bit, but I just wanted to say thank you all for indulging me again and for listening in. I'm trying to work on like how I wanted to format these book clubs in the future because I just want I don't mind my sort of conversational type of like recap style, but I know that it can either be hard to follow or I'm not giving enough information. So I'm open to feedback if you guys have any about how you'd want to see me run these in the future. But I also think right now this is another time for a good pause on Hickman because once we get into FF, I think once if we start reading Future Found, this reminds me of comic pop episodes.
Okay.
Okay, fair enough. Thank you for that compliment, Hayden. But because I feel like once we start reading Future Foundation, we're gonna want to finish this all up because it just keeps ramping and ramping and ramping.
Yeah.
So I think
Would you reckon?
ta-
Oh, sorry, continue.
but we'll take a quick pause. I know there have been lots of suggestions out and about in the past, but next time I do a poll, next time I solicit I solicit nominations for a classic book club. I'll just we'll ask. I'll put it up to a poll. We'll see what wins.
Mm, okay.
Because yeah, I don't know what to cover next, and I don't want to necessarily it be a me club. Like I don't want it to be just oh, it's the Emily show, and you're all here watching me do whatever or listening to me do whatever. So I'll just yeah, because I want it to be a community thing. I want people. I do want other people to either take the lead or to other people's nominations to matter. So, well, I'll see.
Ooh, spooky.
Well,
I think we could
yeah,
do like what is it? I mean, we could do Hyde Street Volume One, but that would be Modern Book Club. I think Hyde Street is like the best like horror book right now out there.
well, all right. We'll we'll see. I'll put it out. I'll put it out into the universe here at some point, and I will. We'll get it all sorted out. But thanks again, chaps.
Thank
Have a
you
good one.
for
No
hosting. Yeah.
worries, man. Thanks for this whole thing.
Yeah, no problem, Tracy. See you, Hayden. See you, Tyler. See you, Amin.
See ya.
See ya.